Welcome everybody to the UNAVSA CPP webinar. My name is Julie Tran from the New England region, and I am on this year's CPP campaign team. On behalf of the CPP campaign team, I'm more than happy to have you all join us for our first collective philanthropy project webinar tonight. The purpose of the webinar is to educate our constituents and to give them a better understanding of this year's beneficiary. Throughout tonight's webinar, please feel free to leave questions in the live chat box on the right side of your screen. The CPP campaign team will gather these questions, as well as questions sent earlier this week, for a Q&A session towards the end of the webinar. I'm very excited to have our webinar presenter here with us tonight. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the founder and executive director of Catalyst Foundation, Caroline Nguyễn Ticarro. Caroline, take it away.
Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well and staying warm during this crazy winter that we're having. I'm in Oregon right now, so it's nice and sunny on the coast. I'm super happy to be here. I am going to present myself, a little bit of history about Catalyst, and then also about what we do in Vietnam, and then we'll move into what the CPP campaign is fundraising for, and then the last part will be what you can do to help us outside of the CPP. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully it works. Julie, you tell me when it does or it doesn't. How's that?
It does. It's good.
Great. Well, like I said, I'm very excited and honored to be the CPP beneficiary this year. I am Vietnamese. I was born a long time ago and grew up, had my childhood in Vietnam. But I'm also a victim of a war, the same war that many of your family members were probably a part of. During the American War, we left on April 29th, along with hundreds and thousands of other people to Vietnam and then go into a refugee camp. So I am a refugee. I was lucky to have left with my mom and dad and my 3 brothers, and then be sponsored by a church in Pennsylvania to come to America in November of 1975. So I grew up pretty Americanized. I was given a lot of luxuries that I probably would have never had in Vietnam. And I grew up, going to high school and college and graduating, but I was a little lost, I have to admit. I think that part of growing up was trying to figure out who you were and where you belong, and I didn't feel that I belonged anywhere until I figured out my mission. My mission statement is to lead a life centered around the principles of love, service, excellence, and success. And I realized that when I was about 25, 26, at that ripe old age of not knowing what you were going to do with the rest of your life. And I realized that I had really been denying my own motherland. The Vietnam that I had grown up with didn't look anything like the pictures that you see here. I've been lucky enough to see the beauty of Vietnam. And throughout that time of figuring out that I was actually Vietnamese, I learned that this was where all my stories began and where my ancestors came from. And it's also where I became a mother. We adopted my twin daughters from an orphanage in the Mekong Delta when they were just 9 months old. And when I became a mother, I felt this horrible nagging guilt of not being able to adopt the 27 other children in the orphanage, but also not to be able to help anyone else in Vietnam. And so that's really how Catalyst started. I recognized that there were rights to a child for children that were really been forgotten. The Convention Rights of a Child says that all children have equal rights, no matter what their race, color, sex, language, religion, politics, or where they were born, or where they were born, whom they were born to. Every child deserves a chance to go to school. Every child deserves enough food and water. Every child deserves a childhood of play instead of work. Every child deserves to be safe and healthy. And know have a mission. Our Catalyst Foundation mission is to build communities in Vietnam to fight human trafficking, because if every child knew that they had those rights, they would not be prone to the traffickers. And we know that we can't end human trafficking, but we can certainly prevent it by empowering communities to take care of their children. All of our programs are focused on the child first. We provide them an education, then we focus on their family and provide housing and vocational training. And then we focus on the community, the food, the water, the medical, all the stuff that they would need to thrive as a community. So we've been working in Vietnam for almost 19 years now, which is crazy how fast that has gone. We have worked in 5 different provinces, and currently we work in Ninh Thuan province, which is about an hour south of Nha Trang and 6 hours away from Saigon by train. And we work with an ethnic minority group. There are 54 ethnic minority groups in Vietnam. We work with the second smallest, the Ragalai. They are a matriarchal society. And in our community are 50 families that are living desperately below the poverty level. Our community means that they've agreed to work with Catalyst, and Catalyst has agreed to work with them to partner together to build this community. 90% of our families have a home that looks like this. It's made out of sticks during the summer. During the winter, it's covered with mud to keep them warm. They don't have proper bathroom facilities, if any. 78% of our community has no access to water for drinking, cooking, or bathing. That means every day, one member from the family has to go up into the mountains or the forest or to the river to literally fetch 2 buckets of water. And that will take anywhere from 2 to 3 hours each way. And then they have to decide if they're going to do that every day. If not, they have to ration those 2 buckets for drinking, cooking, and bathing. 4% of the adults in our community have gone to school. None of them have had the chance to go beyond the 5th grade. So most of our family, most of our adult members are illiterate. Almost 90% of them earn less than $1 a week, picking up, drying, and then selling dung from water buffalo and cows. There's lots of water buffalo and cows to follow around that don't belong to them. They spend all day picking up the crap, bringing it home, drying it, and then putting it back into baskets to sell back to farmers as fertilizer. One basket, about 8 hours worth of work, will earn them a quarter if they can sell it. And so everyone in the family works if they can walk. Only 1% of our community has ever been allowed access to medical care for their families. Because they're an ethnic minority group, they have been denied basic human rights, access to water, education, identity papers, and medical care. Because of the color of their skin and their lack of education, they don't speak Vietnamese, even though they are Vietnamese. So if they needed medical care, they would go to the doctor or the clinic and then get turned away unless we were there. So unfortunately, our mortality rate in the community is a little bit over 45 years old. And our children are dying from basic common illnesses. So we know that 19 years of experience that our success is based on strong partnerships with our community. Like I said, the members of our community have agreed to work with us as much as we've agreed to work with them. Our donors, our volunteers, the local officials, community leaders, teachers, social workers, and of course you, UNAVSA. So we've been doing this and we've been doing it in a very slow manner because it's a difficult road to navigate. To communicate with them well is one challenge, but also to convince them that they can actually do this, that they actually can deserve it, that they deserve everything that we're giving to them, and that they're working towards. So I am also a catalyst for hope, and we're very proud of the work we do. What you all are doing for us this upcoming year is fantastic. It's as the CPP beneficiary, you are raising money for Project Backpack. There are 5 things that you are helping us raise money for that's super important to us and our holistic solutions for the community. The first is education. Our goal is to increase enrollment to 200 Ragged children in primary and secondary schools throughout the province. We have currently enrolled 87 children. There's more waiting, obviously for funding, but there's more children that want to go to school now that they've seen these children go to school. An annual cost per child is about $40 for school fee, uniforms, school supplies, and shoes, but the majority of the cost for every child is the monthly food distribution for the family. Every month we provide food for the family, such as rice, vegetables, soy sauce, fish sauce, any pantry items, noodles, so that their child can stay in school. It's what we call a trade-off. If their child stays in school, their child will be educated, and we truly believe that education will break the cycle of poverty. If their child stays in school, they don't work, and if they don't work, they don't eat. So we are compensating them being in school by providing food for them. The next thing that you're helping us raise money for is community education. Because as a community, we are trying to build it to provide the solutions for them. We have to teach them basic life skills, everything from brushing your teeth to washing your hands using soap and not eating the laundry detergent, which has happened, to taking care of themselves, to stranger danger, to bicycle safety, to wearing helmets. We've taught them everything in the last few years. And our goal is to meet with communities in a town hall type meeting and education class twice a week, every month, for as long as it takes. And so the money raised, the $3,500, is for those education supplies, as well as tutors for the children and the adults that need it. More food. We want to raise $10,000 to provide a cafeteria for the children so that we can provide meals for them during school. Lunch and breakfast is the goal, as well as to add to our community garden so that we can provide more healthy vegetables and healthy options for them. That money also includes hiring 3 of the mothers in the community to work during the school year to actually cook for the children. It's also our project for the summer. The last thing that we're asking you to help us raise, or not the last thing, second to last thing that we're asking you to help us raise money for is medical and dental, $3,500, to monitor and evaluate to ensure sustainable health improvements for the 200 children that are in our community. This pays for the dental visits that we have 3 times a year, as well as medical visits and any doctor and any medicine that they would require for whatever would come up, multivitamins, antibiotics, anti-parasite vaccinations. And then vocational training is a big part of the CPP Project Backpack program. Our goal is to give them an alternative income other than collecting water buffalo and cow crap, and to provide them something that they can be proud of. We have started vocational training for a very small group of families, a small group of individuals. There's a construction team right now of 8 people, and there's a group of women that have started sewing classes to do sewing and tailoring. But we also would like to add motorcycle repair, farming, educating, more tutoring, and then a bigger construction team. Because if we have a construction crew that is in our community, they can actually help us build the safe houses and everything that we need for the families. This money also includes providing microloans for the families once they have been trained and achieved success in their training, so that they can create their own business plan that then the community votes on. So it's a big goal, but I have no doubt that the CPP team and all of you out there can help us achieve it. We're also inviting all of you to come to Vietnam for what we call the Vietnam Aid Expedition. This is what we call our volunteer vacation that we have twice a year. every year. We've had over 600 volunteers from 28 different countries in the last 19 years that come to be with the community and be a part of what actually happens. This year, this July, with your help, we are going to actually build the cafeteria so that the children will have it all ready for the upcoming school year. The team will also help us distribute backpacks for the school year. And so get all the kids ready. We'll redo the bicycle training, and then we'll also find safe routes for them to get to middle school. So if you can come, the UNAVSA team, the UNAVSA students, anyone that's associated with the VSA, the participant fee is $300, and that will pay for your lodging and food and time that you're out in our project site. That doesn't include your plane ticket to get to Vietnam, but I'm sure that that it's something that you can use as a chance to visit family and see the motherland that I love so much. So hopefully you can all make it. It's a week after the UNAVSA, and I'll be going right from NOLA to get to Vietnam. So we would love to have you there. When we won it 10 years ago, we had a team of 20 people build the library, and we were very proud of all the work that they accomplished in just a few short days. The last thing that I would also invite you to do, if you can't get to Vietnam but want to help Catalyst, we have a culture camp every year in 2 different places in July. In Minnesota, July 6th to the 9th, and East Coast, July 13th to the 16th. It is a culture camp for families that have adopted children from Vietnam. We have usually over 200 families come, and we would love to have great counselors be great role models for all the kids that range in age from 3 to 17. So if you're interested in that, come visit us online. And you can always reach me online on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, wherever. I'm always online at Catalyst Vietnam. Thank you, everyone. I hope that answers some of your questions, but I'm going to stick around to answer any more questions that you may have.
Thank you, Caroline. And now we will move on to the Q&A session of this webinar. The first question that I have is, what other cities or regions of Vietnam has Catalyst Foundation worked in?
Like I said, we worked in 5 different provinces. Since 1998. We've worked in Vinh Long, in Ban Cha, in Dong Thap, in Kinh Anh province in 2 different cities, also in Saigon, and then now in Ninh Thuan. So we only work with 1 community at a time. We don't do multiple project sites because our goal is to stay with the community for as long as it takes them to be sustainable so that we can walk away and they can support themselves. And they know it when we go into it that they, their job is to be able to learn and take what we give them so that they can be on their own. So they always know that we're gonna leave.
Thank you. And the second question I have is, how do you normally fund Catalyst Foundation?
Well, Catalyst Foundation is mostly funded by individual donors. We do have some corporate grants that come through every year. Like we've had corporate grants from IKEA, UPS, P&G, Procter & Gamble. So we have a few corporate grants, but most of our fundraising comes from individual donors. We do a lot of fundraising online, and then just a lot of asking. That's my job. I always tell my staff my job is to ask for money, and their job is to spend it on the community.
Thank you. And also, how did you find out about the CPP grant and about UNAVSA in general?
Actually, it was 11 years ago during one of our aid expeditions. One of our volunteers was coming home from Vietnam and met someone on the plane. Her name was Hannah Nguyen. And Hannah happened to be a student at the University of Minnesota. And she was sitting next to our volunteer, and he was telling her all about this great trip he went on and who this organization was that helped us. And she contacted me to be a part of Culture Camp at first. And through her volunteer work at Culture Camp, she was telling me about VSAs and UNAVSA. So that was back in 2004, I believe. And then 2005 or 2006 was the first CPP that ever happened. And we applied. We applied in July of 2006. My child was 8 years old. I have twins, as you know, but one of them was actually headed to Vietnam with me on another aid expedition. We stopped in San Jose to present the CPP. And I distinctly remember sitting next to one of the 3 CPP finalists. I was one of them. And the one in the middle said, well, you know, I really don't need this money. And I thought, I need this money. And I, while I was speaking, I sent my wonderful 8-year-old around with a hat and Hannah, and they collected money to show that everyone can make a difference. That we raised, just while in the 10 minutes that I spoke, we raised a little bit over $100, which bought 40 kilos of rice for families. So it was a tangible impact. So I've known UNAVSA and CPPs for a very long time, for probably longer than most of you guys have been, well, certainly since most of you have been in school. So it goes back a long way. So this is our 10-year anniversary of winning it, and it has come full circle. So I'm truly honored.
Also, why should our constituents volunteer for Catalyst, and what are the benefits of volunteering?
Well, that's a good question. I think there's a lot of benefit in volunteering, not just for Catalyst, but for anyone. You just have to really become passionate about it. I know one of the main reasons that young Vietnamese Americans volunteer for us is that it's a connection to a country that has usually brought really negative memories. And this is a way to give back and to think of something new and make a new memory that's positive. I also believe that once you are hooked into the Catalyst family, you meet our families and our community, you meet me and my really cool volunteers, you get sucked in for life. The UNAVSA members that I met 10, 12 years ago are still part of our world. So I think you just have to have a passion, as you know, and not really the time commitment, but just the passion for helping, and then you make the time for it.
Thank you. That is all of the questions. So we will wrap up tonight's session. Thank you so much for everybody who has joined us for our CPP webinar. Also, thank you to Caroline for presenting for an amazing webinar. We hope everybody who is watching.
Oh, sorry.
We hope everybody who is watching has learned a little bit more about Caroline Nguyễn Ticarro on Catalyst Foundation and on this year's Project Backpack. Caroline, would you like to say a goodbye message?
Just thank you once again. Again, we're truly honored to be a part of the CPP. We want this, I want this to be the most successful ever. So if there's anything I can do to help any of you, even if it's just to make a quick flyer or to whatever you need, or you know, do a quick shout out to get people to your events, just let me know. We have a vast network of people and supporters. So we really want this to be the best ever, and thank you so much for being the catalyst for hope.
Thank you again, and have a great night. Bye, everyone.